Oh, maybe Purushottam's here, Jay. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and start? Let me just Gora Gruganya Gana Go Chagoloruharam Goranga Gudatama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dile Kokola Kahe Premananda Himona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangira Namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya, Prema-bhakti-candrika Padama Pumatam. Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishayustat Prayajanaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathabda Brajabala Bapahima Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Varshi Vakta Chandra Prabhat Vasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Shri Narotamaya. Again and again, I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, the nectarian shower of the holy name Krishna radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So today, this is our 11th session, I think, maybe our 12th or 13th, actually. Something like that. I lost track of speaking about the 8th stanza of the 5th song of Prema-bhakti-candrika, and in particular speaking something about siddha-deha, siddha-pranali. So this is our verse that we've been focusing on. Yugala charana sevi nirantara e bhavi anuragi taki bashadoy sadane bhavi bhajaha siddha-dehe pabataha ragapatira ese upai. I will constantly desire to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna with loving attachment. Whatever I contemplate during the practice of devotional service will certainly be achieved upon perfection in a devotional and spiritual body. This is a method on the path of attachment. So, wow, I'm a little exhausted just when we begin. We've had so many sessions on this subject matter, And my desire today is to just kind of run. And if you can't keep up, that's just too bad, because we went so slow through all these subject matters and repeated again and again and again. And our purpose today is to not go over all the points, but to just try to give an overview and remind everybody how all these things come together. I'd like to leave some time for discussion and questions. And I'm putting together a little document I'd like to give to everybody, be a page or two, kind of a summary notes, the most important verses, I think, from this discussion. And that I don't have ready yet, but we're working on that. It's a work in progress. So today I put together an outline which doesn't strictly follow the path we went on. Sometimes we're kind of going backwards and forwards a little bit. So I've put it together in a way that I think is a little more systematic. And first of all, we begin with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and their comments about Siddha-pranali. And then secondly, we look at what is Siddha-pranali and the evidences supporting it. And then we look at what is the process for Gaudiya Vaishnavas and how the holy name is everything. And then particularly in number 4, how the holy name is the process for Kali Yuga. And then, so then the holy name is the process of Siddha-pranali, but there's a necessity to be in samadhi. And then we've heard something about what is yoga and what is inattention. Hare Krishna, Hare Chandra Prabhu. Nice to see you. From the Yoga Sutras and also from Harinam Chintamani. And then we heard something about the problem of ahankara. And then we spoke something about, does Krishna hear our prayers? How does that work? And then we spoke something about the connection between humility, nama-bhajan, and siddha-pranali, and then the holy name and guru, and then guru seva, and how the best seva is nam seva, the guru. That's a very short summary of what we've covered. So let's just look over some of our main quotes here. Now I'm going to begin. We're just kind of running through everything again really fast. So first of all, siddha-deha is something that we want. We have to be fixed in our swarup. And Srila Prabhupada, in a lecture in 1973 in Bombay, he said we must be fixed in our own rup, swarup siddhi. Swarup siddhi means to be engaged in the service of the Lord. That is real mukti. Now this is a circle. This is the first statement that we began with, and basically it's also the concluding point. That Swarup Siddhi means to be engaged in the service of the Lord, and we give some other different pramanas from our acharyas about that. And then we looked at some different things from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta about Siddha-pranali and Siddha-deha. In Bhajan Rahasya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that adhikara na labhya siddha-deha bhave, that if someone doesn't have qualification, adhikara na, then labhya siddha-deha bhave, then they can't achieve the siddha-deha. Rather, viparyaya buddhi janme shaktira abhave, their intellect will become bewildered because they don't have the adhikar for this subject matter. And janme shaktira abhave, they didn't take birth, and literally they may take birth again. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in one letter, which we may look at a little today, if someone without adhikar, without qualification, and basically he's speaking about males, so please forgive us, ladies, you're already in a superior position. If a male tries to artificially practice siddha-deha, he said, viparya buddhi, you'll get a contrary type of consciousness, and all that'll happen, Bhaktisiddhanta says, you'll take birth as a woman. You won't take birth in the spiritual world as a Sakhi Manjari. And we spoke about Kalpana, or imagination, how this is one of the 10 offenses of the holy name, and Kalpana also we can be living in a dream and thinking that oh, I'm doing something so important, but it has to be real. And as we will discover later on, unless we're free from ahankara, then it's going to be kalpana. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke about this premature siddha-pranali. Let's look at that. This is from Krishna Samhita. And he said it's bogus gurus who they don't consider the qualification of their disciples. And so they instruct these kind of persons to become like manjaris and sakis, and they're doing a terrible offense. And because of that, they fall down. So our system, as we pointed out so many times, and even this is something you may hear if you go there from different Babajis and Radhakunda, that the holy name is everything. The holy name will give siddha-pranali. There is another process of siddha-pranali which is given in some places, but if we don't have qualification for doing lila smarana and trying to do smarana and meditate on our siddha-deha, then it becomes very difficult. So let's look at what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said about this subject. I'm just flying. So if you have some questions or something, make a note of it. We're just trying to go through this really quick, and we're going to try to show how all these things are connected together. If you want to go really deep into these subjects, all the talks are there on YouTube. So this is from a letter written by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And he speaks to the disciples that he wrote it to. In this book, the Prabhupada Pratravali, they took out all the names of the disciples. Something which I can understand, but I don't 100% agree with. I think it's really nice in Srila Prabhupada's letters and conversations to know who he's speaking to, because it makes a difference. If you're speaking to someone who is a drug addict, or someone who's a serious devotee, someone who had spiritual problems, or someone who's doing well. So we don't know who he wrote this to. And the letter, he's mentioning how the disciple wrote to him about Sudha Kaliya Leela. And he said that's a very high thing. And it's a bona fide thing. It should be highly regarded. He says, but the way in which these pastimes are conceived in the contaminated state is totally corrupt. Again, this is kalpana. Kalpana means just an imagination. This should be something which rises naturally. And he explains how it's not a wrong thing. Some fortunate individuals are capable of knowing these things after chanting for a long time, meaning the identity of the true self. But it can only be known after one is free from material contaminations. Again, this letter is kind of a foundational principle which we explore through Shastra, through the Yoga Sutras and different things. With the awakening of the spiritual identity, one automatically has constant recognition of his spiritual form. This is a point which is exactly made in the Yoga Sutras, in which our Goswamis speak about in different. But when you give up your ahankara, and you free from material contamination, then you have some, and you chant as service to Guru, then you'll realize your swarup. And he says that those persons who say that they can teach or reveal this identity are practicing a kind of deception. It cannot be done. On the other hand, if a devotee receives some inspiration after sincerely chanting for a long time, you think, wow, I'm this thing, I'm that thing, then he should go to Sadguru, some advanced devotees, to ask for it to be confirmed or purified by them. And we mentioned how I gave two examples. One was one of my godbrothers came to my Guru Maharaj and he said, Guru Maharaj, I was chanting and I saw Nrsingadev. And Guru Maharaj kind of leaned toward him and whispered and said, very good, don't tell anyone. A second time I happened to be in Singapore when Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj was there one year. And I was in his private room with a small group of devotees. when one very sentimental, very enthusiastic young lady who was clearly Maharaj's disciple came in and she said, Gurudev, I want to know what is my Manjari Swarup. And Narayan Maharaj told her very, very soberly, very, very heavily, says, you are Bhuta Manjari. A Bhuta in Bengali and Sanskrit means a ghost. And so the other devotees who were in the room, everybody, pretty much everybody in the room, the men who were there, they're mostly older devotees, they could understand what he was saying, and they all started laughing. And she started crying. She was in ecstasy. Oh, Gurudev, thank you so much, Gurudev. But it's something which has to be, comes through internal revelation. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta goes on to explain that there's different people who falsely try to force feed, he says, they artificially force feed these designations of ekadasabhav to unqualified practitioners, but we cannot call this the mark of spiritual perfection. Those who have achieved the perfection of being fixed in their spiritual identity have attained such a realization through internal revelation. And then he says, the spiritual master's only involvement in these matters is to help the further advancement of a disciple. In other words, it's not that the guru has to award this to the disciple, but it's going to come through internal revelation. And as we'll discuss also through pleasing the guru and through the connection with guru, but it's not a formal initiation. He says, as a practitioner progresses naturally, all these things are revealed within the heart that sincerely seeks service. This is such a beautiful foundational letter of our discussion. Of course, many people won't accept this because it's from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he didn't stress Siddha-pranali. So then let's look at Siddha-pranali. First of all, the term Siddha-pranali is not found in any of the writings of Srila Rupa Goswami or any of the principal Gaudiya Goswamis. The number of times we find this statement is 0. It's not found whatsoever. Instead, we repeatedly hear things like Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, that this verse came from the lips of Mahaprabhu, saying that the only process in this age, the only process is the chanting of the holy name. And the holy name gives everything, gives everything, gives everything. Now, there are some things that devotees, Vaishnavas, and these are our friends. I don't like all this sectarianism. There's a difference in our bhajan pranali and their bhajan pranali. However, it's not such a serious thing to me. We're both worshiping Krishna. We both chant the holy names. It's just a little different stress. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains this, as we spoke before, in Jaiva Dharma. And he says there that there were two paths, and one was from Gopal Guru Goswami through his book, through Jan Chandra Goswami's book, the Gaur-Govinda Smarana Archana Padati. And the second is through Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami is the internal path, and Jan Chandra Goswami's book is the external path. So devotees who are our friends at Radhakund, generally they cite this verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Seva Sadhika Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi Tadbhava Lipshana Karya Braja Lokanusarata. This is the best pramana to support Siddha-pranali, the strongest one on all the writings of the 6 Goswamis. But it's not exactly clear here either. That a devotee who is inclined to Raganuga Bhakti, towards spontaneous devotion, he should follow a particular devotee. And he should execute that service externally as a regulated devotee, as well as internally from a self-realized person. So Siddha Rupena, Seva Sat from our Sadhika Rup, and also from our Siddha Rup, internally and externally. But it doesn't mention anywhere from our Goswamis about Ekadas Bhav, about this different 11 different revelations which are given to the devotee traditionally in some groups from Radhakund. In Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu makes it clear that there's two processes to practice Raganuga Bhakti, external and internal. Both are there. We're practicing the internal process, the process coming from Raghunath Das Goswami, which I by far have the most faith in. Now, later came Jan Chandra Goswami and his Gaur Govinda Archana Smarana Padati, and he spoke about this Ekadas Bhav, and we went over that in some of our previous sessions. Let's just look at that real quick here. And there's all the verses we went over in some previous session from speaking about Ekadas Bhav. I'm not going to go through all those verses again, but just to touch on the different things. The first thing is, what is our sambandha? What is our specific relationship with Srimati Radharani? And we mentioned in this regard, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, later, I'm kind of sometimes jumping ahead and then jumping back because I'm trying to tie everything together. We mentioned a verse from the Harinam Chintamani written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which he ascribed to Haridas Thakur, where Haridas Thakur says, Amita Adama, Tumi Adama Tarana, Ubaye Sambandha E Patita Pavana, that this is my Sambandha. We have to develop a specific Sambandha. This is the foundation of Ekadas Bhav. This is the first principle of that. And in Harinam Chintamani, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who had Siddha-pranali, he gives this verse from Haridas Thakur, who describes that this is my condition, Amita Adama. I'm fallen. And I know who you are, to me, Adama Tarana, you're the deliverer of the fallen. This is our Sambandha. He says, this is our connection. So then, traditionally in Ekadas Bhav, one gets Savayas, how old they are, you're 12 years, 6 months, 10 days. The name, you get, there's a particular name, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur got Kamala Manjari. Then they describe you, what is your roop, your bodily appearance, in particular, the color of your body and that. In Yuta Prabesh, there's a particular group that you're instructed you're going to be working under. In our group, we have Lalita. That's the group that we're working under in the line of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The sixth aspect of Ekadas Bhav is a vesh, a dress. The seventh is a particular instruction that you've gotten from your Yugateshwari. The eighth is a Basarpstana, the place where you stay. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur's case, it was Sananda Sukha Kunj. The ninth is Seva, the particular service, such as Narottam Das Thakur boiling down milk to be offered to Radha and Krishna. Then there's Parakashtasvasa, the highest aspiration, which is the ambition for a particular blessing, such as being asked directly to do something by Rupa Manjari. And the Palyadasi Bhav, the mood of being a completely dependent maidservant under the tutelage of one of Radharani's Sakhis. So that's the tradition, but that tradition did not begin with the 6 Goswamis. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, historically, this began in Jagannath Puri, and there was 2 lines, the line of Raghunath Das Goswami, which is still going on in so many places outside of ISKCON, outside of the Gaudiya Math. It is the most prominent line. If you go to the villages of Orissa, if you go to the villages of West Bengal, the villages are chanting Hare Krishna, and they generally don't practice Siddha-pranali. Even at Radhakund, there are many Babajis there who don't practice Siddha-pranali. They just chant Hare Krishna mantra, and that's their Siddha-pranali mantra. So Bhaktivinoda historically says that it came between Raghunath Das Goswami, who taught the internal path, which is the path of the holy name, and Jan Chandra Goswami, who taught the external path, which is a path of meditation on this Ekadas Bhav. And then we went through a whole bunch of verses. I just put a few here about how important the holy name is, and how there's verses quoting from the Shringa Purana here, which is also quoted in Jaiva Dharma, Hari Bhakti Vilas and Bhakti Sandarbha, how if someone chants the holy name, they can be delivered from hell. A similar thing is mentioned in the 4th chapter of the 9th canto, Muchate Yun Yaman Udite Nada Kopi, that if someone is chanting the holy name, then even a resident of hell is liberated. And very clearly, our philosophy, coming from the 6 Goswamis, is that the holy name gives everything. And the holy name, when one chants, Sanatana Goswami, in his Mangal Charan and Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he gives this verse, Jayati Jayati Nama Nanda Rupam Murare, all glories to that holy name, which is full of ecstasy, which is the very form of Murari Krishna. Viramita Nija Dharma, Dhyana Pujadi Yatnam. That holy name makes one give up their Nija Dharma, which means my Vanashram Dharma, my Dharma according to my particular psychophysical nature. It makes me give up dhyana. It makes me give up meditation. It makes me give up puja, etc. Adi means etc. All those things they give up. We simply accept the holy name. This is a statement of Sanatana Goswami. This is also the statement of Rupa Goswami, his Pajavali. He says that Brahmandanam Koti Sankhya Kanam, that if you could count Sankhya, the Aishvarya, and all the Brahmanda Koti, and all the millions and millions of different universes, yet Chaitanya Yadvat Angsaha, it'll hardly be even an angsa, a tiny little bit of the glories of the holy name. And he says that holy name is Tanme Sadhyan, Sadhanam Jivanam Cha. This is our Goswami Siddhanta, that the holy name is our sadhya, our goal, and it's the sadhana, the means by which I'll attain the goal. It's jivana, it's my life, it's my everything. When I achieve perfection, and I enter into the spiritual world as a Saki Manjari doing Nikunja Seva, I'll be chanting the holy name. I'm chanting the holy name here and now. I'll be chanting the holy name there then. There is no mention about Siddha-pranali anywhere in the works of our Goswamis. Rather, they simply repeatedly stress over and over and over again about the chanting of the holy name. In fact, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a verse which is quoted by Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, where Krishna is speaking from the Adi Purana. Shradaya Helaya Nama Ratanti Mama Janta Vahatesham Nama Siddha-parta Vartate Hridaye Mama. That what to speak of someone chants my name, in my heart, I'm always chanting the names of those persons who, what does he say? Shradaya Helaya, either with faith or Helaya with neglect, who are chanting my name. So powerful is the chanting of the holy name. It makes our connection with Krishna. It is our connection with Krishna. And we should have faith in that. And even some of the scholarly Babajis that I know of in Vrindavan who have Siddha-pranali, even some of them, they chastise some of their followers and other Babajis. You don't understand our Siddhanta and the importance of chanting the holy name. They also recognize it. There's a verse from the Adi Purana again, which is quoted also in the Hari Bhakti Vilas and a number of places by our acharyas. Beautiful verse. Nanama sadrisam gyanam. There's no gyan like the holy name. Nanama sadrisam bratam. There's no brata, no activity that you can do equal to the holy name. Nanama sadrisam jnanam. There's no meditation equal to the chanting of the holy name. Nanama sadrisam phalam. There's nothing equal to the chanting of the holy name. Nanama sadrisas chago. There's no renunciation equal to the holy name. Nanama sadrisas sama. There's nothing equal to the holy name. Nanama sadrisam punyam. There's no punya, pious activities equal to the holy name. Nanama sadrisi gatihi. There's no goal equal to the holy name. Namayava padama muktir. There's no liberation superior to chanting of the holy name. Namayava padama gati. There's nothing, there's no other goal other than the holy name. Namayava padama shantir. The holy name gives the topmost peace. Namayava padama stiti. It gives the topmost situation. Namaiva Parama Bhaktir, the holy name gives the topmost bhakti. Namaiva Parama Mati, the holy name is the topmost thing to meditate on. Namaiva Parama Pritir, the holy name is the topmost love. Namaiva Parama Smriti, the holy name is the topmost meditation. Namaiva Karanam Jantor, the holy name is the best thing to do. Namaiva Prabhu Evacha, there's nothing equal to the holy name, no Prabhu. Namaiva Padama Radyo, there's no one more worshipable. Namaiva Padama Guru, the holy name is the topmost guru. And as we look through all of this, our problem is this ahankara and mamata. We're chanting the holy name, but because we're chanting inattentively because of our attachment to our body and conceptions of things connected to the body, then we're not able to chant properly. So there's a necessity for humility. In Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said that our Siddha-pranali mantra is Trinadapi Sunichena. And what does Trinadapi Sunichena mean? It means that we accept Guru. And let's just keep going. I'm jumping a little ahead now. Then we spoke so many things. Again, there was a long session that day from so many different Puranas, from the Bhagavatam, from the Upanishads, quoting the Hare Krishna mantra. How in Kali Yuga, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the process. And the Upanishads described that Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, there's no other process. And the Hare Krishna mantra directly mentioned in the Ananta Samhita, the Kali Santara Upanishad, and the Samat Kumar Samhita, in so many different places. The Padma Purana mentions the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and the importance of chanting it. Later literatures like Nayananda Das Thakur's Krishna Bhakti Rasa Kadamba, Nayananda Thakur was one of the followers of Lord Nityananda, and he quoted the Brahmanda Purana in there, which gives the Hare Krishna mantra, the first line of it, and how important it is in the Agni Purana. This is the process for this age. And how many times do we find Siddha-pranali given as a process? Zero in the Puranas and in the Vedic literature. And as a later thing, in Jayachandra Goswami's Padati, he gives this process. And it's okay, we're not against it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had that, Narottam Thakur had that. But it's not that someone has to have that. And as our teacher, Fakir Mohan Prabhu, once told us, someone asked him, because he had Siddha-pranali. It's a little complicated in his case. He joined the Gaudiya Mutt when he was 12 years old, and took initiation from one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. And later, on the order of his guru, he went to the university. And later, on the order of his guru, he took Siddha-pranali from from a devotee who was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's last Ayurvedic doctor. And so he had both in that sense. You could say both. Anyway, someone asked him at one point, well, can I do both? And he said, no. He said, if you have your bhajan pranali from your guru and you take some other bhajan pranali, then bhajan pranali meaning a system of bhajan, then all that you'll get is offense. And so then we also mention how in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where in 12th canto, in chapter 3, which speaks about the holy name, the 50th verse mentions Atma Bhavam Nayat Yanga. That when it's speaking about the holy name, when someone meditates on that holy name when they're about to die, Krishna will reveal their swarup to them. Just recently, one wonderful Vaishnava in our movement, one of his disciples, she's leaving her body. And Krishna Kun's been discussing with her, and her Guru Maharaj wrote some beautiful letter. And one of the things that he wrote that really struck me, he said that don't worry about anything, you just be natural. And I like that so much because Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha, he says there's two types of bhakti. There's kaitava bhakti and akaitava bhakti. Sakaitava means something which is not natural. And akaitava means something which is simple, which is a natural thing. He said, just meditate on a simple natural thing, just whatever comes to your heart in a natural way. And he also recommended that she read some things about the gopis and the manjaris, but he didn't push this thing or that thing. So then we had some long sessions going through the Yoga Sutras, and based on the definition of yoga from the second sutra, which I didn't put in the notes right here. Let's see if I have it somewhere else. I think I do, real quick and easy. Yeah. This is one of the verses that I wanted to share with everybody in notes. Okay. So Patanjali says, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. But this is a definition of yoga. Now, bhakti yoga is also a type of yoga. Nama-bhajan is the process of bhakti in this age. So nam is also yoga. But yoga means when the mind becomes completely fixed. And then later on in the same section of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, is some discussion about different types of inattention, and how those inattentiveness, they take away from our consciousness, from our focus. The yoga means to be completely focused. So this is the problem. We have the holy name, but we're not completely focused on it. And then we went through some verses in Harinam Chintamani, what in general is inattentiveness, and three types of inattention: odasinya, judgya, and vikshepa. Indifference or apathy. Judgya means just being really, really dull, stupid. Judgya means something material or inertia. And vikshepa, to be distracted. And how, according to Janchandra Goswami's verse, given in Gaur-Govinda Smarnarchana Padati, we want our mind and the mantra to become one. When the mind and the mantra become one, mano madhye stito mantra, mantra madhye stitam manaha, then at that time, we understand our siddha-deha. But the problem is ahamta and mamata, the self-identification, and possessiveness, which blocks us. And how we read from Jagadananda Pandit's Prema-bhakti-candrika and the wandering of the soul, and how the soul is taking so many different types of births. Sometimes, I'll go ahead and put these verses up on the board too. I'm just flipping through them. It may help you to kind of concentrate to see them. When he tries to enjoy separately from Krishna, he becomes like someone possessed by a witch. And then sometimes he takes birth, Kabu Raja as a king, Kabu Praja, sometimes a citizen, sometimes a Vipra Brahman, sometimes a Sudra, sometimes unhappy, sometimes happy. And so many different, but when good fortune arises, he meets some saintly person. And by the mercy of that saintly person, then he begins to understand sadhu sangha nija tattva avagatana hana. He begins to understand who I am. And then at that point, he begins to cry. So we spoke about how we're doing anishita bhajana kriya, as long as this ahamta and mamata, or this self-identification as the body, and identification of all these things as mine. This is my country. I'm American. I'm Indian. I'm Hungarian. Those things gradually, slowly, they go away, and we become more affectionate. And then we begin to cry. That crying, that's Trinadapi. That's crying out of humility. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that's our Siddha-pranali mantra. When we come and we have good fortune, we come in contact with the Vaishnav, and they tell us something about who we are, then we begin to cry. Nija tattva janiyar, when we understand the samsara nachai, then I don't want this material entanglement anymore. And we begin to cry. Kende boli, oh hey Krishna Amitava Das. Oh Krishna, please, I'm your servant, please help me. And then Krishna begins to relieve that person from material entanglement. This is the science of Siddha-pranali, of Siddha-deha. We have this ahankara, this false ego, this ahamta and mamata. This is burned away, and because of that, we can't fix our mind on the holy name. But that thing is burned away when we begin to cry. And we spoke about some things from Madhurya Kadambani and how Nishita Bhajana Kriya. At that time, when our bhajan becomes fixed, our consciousness becomes pervaded with spirituality, and the mundane influence becomes small. And how that goes on through Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and Prem. And little by little, even up to the point of Prema, there's some things, some connection with material nature there because we still have a physical body. But at the point of Prema, the self-identification and possessiveness, ahamta, mamata, they're completely in the spiritual realm. That begins on more or less on the stage of Bhav. It begins with Ruchi, little by little. We start to identify with the pleasure that we get. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda in, what's his book, Bhakti Tattva Vivek, he explains how it's so important that we have Ruchi. He says that Shraddha or faith is not enough, but there has to be some Ruchi, because whatever we have Ruchi with, we become attached to it. I saw in the news recently, everybody's excited in America for this Kamala Harris, that's her name. She's a vice president and she's going to be running for office. And some musician really liked her, and she said, what is it? She said, oh, I remember now. She said that Kamala Harris, she's really brat. And all the older people said, what the heck does brat mean? And brat is just like in our generation, we would say somebody cool. Well, brat for them means somebody who, they gave a definition, brat means someone who's enjoying in a very hedonistic way. So when however we enjoy, whether it's in a brat kind of way or in a spiritual kind of way, that's going to affect our self-identity. Because we're going to identify with whatever it is that we get pleasure from. Whew. So we spoke about 5 different levels of the mind in connection with that. Kshipta Muda, Vikshipta Ekabhya, Niruddha. And Niruddha is the definition of yoga, when the mind is completely controlled. And on all these other different stages or prior things where the mind is very disturbed and stupefied and distracted, finally in the point of ekagra, the mind becomes a little sattvic and becomes one-pointed. And then it comes to nirodha, which is what's spoken of in the Yoga Sutras, where the mind is completely controlled. It's a very, very high thing. And that's like where it begins. So, so that's vyavasyatmika buddhi. That's becoming very one-pointed. That nirodha means when the mind and the mantra become one. Mano madhye stito mantra mantra madhye stitam manaha. And then we ask this question, very unpleasant question. Does Krishna hear our prayers? Oh dear. And we spoke from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's Prema-bhakti-candrika, and how the answer in one short way is no. It's not that Krishna is doing Rasalila with Srimati Radharani and the gopis, and all of a sudden he stops, and Radharani says, what is it? And Krishna says, well, Bhakti and Dorothea, she's chanting japa. I'm attracted. I have to listen to what she's doing. Not to offend you, Dorothea, but our japa is not like that. So Krishna is mugdha, and there's many different statements from Bilvamangala Thakur and Krishna Karnamrita, Sarvagyecha Mogyecha Sarvabhaumam Idam Maha. That Krishna, by nature, he becomes mugdha, he becomes bewildered by the love of the gopis, so much he can't even think of anything. So that sounds really depressing. If Krishna doesn't hear our prayers, then how does that happen? How does that work? Well, then we have to understand that if Krishna's not in our heart as a super soul, and Krishna's not hearing that, if Krishna's dancing with the gopis and maybe his Paramatma feature, as Vishwanath says in that Ragvartman-chandrika, that you may say, well, it's the Paramatma feature in the heart who hears the prayers. He says, but if you say that to some Raganuga Bhaktas who want to attain Vrindavan, they won't be very happy. But we have another question in the language of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who is a super soul of the super soul? And that's the devotee. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhanam hridayam. Some Krishna tells Durvasa Muni that the devotee is always in my heart, and I'm always in the heart of the devotee. And so there's an intimate connection between connecting with the devotees and the siddha-pranali. And that arises through humility. And we went through many different discussions. Actually, I was thinking to tell a story previously. Maybe I'll tell it in this session today because there's a lot, we're running really fast. There's a lot of philosophy. This is a story which is told in Braj. It's a common story there. Sometimes some stories, Jiva Goswami and our acharyas, they say this is a Sthala Purana or local history. Purana means history. And they quote them sometimes. Srila Prabhupada does that quite often in Chaitanya Charitamrita. As long as the story is Siddhantic, and then I see nothing wrong with it. Even someone, Srila Prabhupada, would tell stories about Charlie Chaplin. and that's nowhere in Shastra. But if it's a Siddhantic point, it could be told. So Madhu Mangal one day was with Krishna, and seeing how everybody was favoring Krishna, he became a little transcendentally jealous. And he told Krishna, I'm trying to figure out why everybody gives you the sweets when I'm the Brahman. They should give me the sweets. They should give the respect to me. You're just the son of a cowherd. This is not right. So I've been trying to figure it out. And I realized the reason is you're dressed like an amazing way, that dhoti, and it's your flute. And it's a peacock feather in your head. So Krishna, would you please give me those three things? And Krishna said, sure. So he gave Bilvamangal his peacock feather, flute, and yellow dhoti. And excuse me, I said Bilvamangal, Madhu Mangal. And Madhu Mangal started wearing those, and he was having a really good day. He kind of poked the flute around the corner and the peacock feather, and people would see that, and all Krishna's here, and they would give some milk sweets and ladus and things. And and Madhu Mangal would they'd see the yellow dhoti and think that it was him. Meanwhile, in Mathura, Kamsa had been having a very bad day because he'd heard about so many of his demon friends being killed by Krishna. So he called for one of his bosom friends. His name was Keshi. And he told Keshi, and Keshi was the last of the demons in Vrindavan, and there's some purport of that's another topic. He told Keshi, you go to Vrindavan, and I want you to kill Krishna. And so then Keshi asked Kamsa, well, how do I recognize him? And Kamsa said, well, he has a yellow dhoti, a peacock feather, and a flute. And so Keshi went to Vrindavan, and there was Madhu Mangal having a very good day with a big bag of ladus wandering around. And Keshi saw him and started running at him, and Madhu Mangal panicked. Keshi just kicked. He didn't even touch the body of Madhu Mangal, just the wind from his feet hit the body of Madhu Mangal and threw him in the air, a dozen meters or something. Madhu Mangal landed, and immediately he ran to Krishna, and he took off the peacock feather and the dhoti and the flute, and he handed him back, and he said, I don't want these things anymore. So sometimes that we, like Madhu Mangal, we want to artificially practice some kalpana, some fantasy, some imagination that I'm a liberated person, I'm a this, I'm a that. But that's not going to work. It's not just a question of dressing up and imitating, but there has to be some humility. If something is natural, the basis of something, anything natural, is humility. Whether you're a teacher in school, whether you're a student, whether you're a politician, whatever it is, a natural person is someone who's humble. And a narcissist is the complete opposite, someone who thinks everything revolves around me. So there's this necessity of humility, and we gave a number of sessions about that. If we want to understand our siddha-deha, and therefore Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that our siddha-pranali mantra is Trinadapi Sanichina, that we have to be humble. And Srila Jiva Goswami speaks about this in his Bhakti Sandarbha, and in some of our previous sessions we went over these verses, how kirtan is the process for this age, but it works especially for devotees who are humble and who are devoid of pride. This kirtan works for them. This kirtan will give us our siddha-deha, give us understanding that if we're acting in a humble way. And so the natural symptom of the humility is to be honest and to lament. And we gave many verses from that. Srila Sanatana Goswami gives a verse which is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 23, which we went over some. I really like this verse very much. Na prema, I don't have prema. Shravanadi bhakti, I'm not practicing the Navavidi bhakti, the 9 processes of devotional service headed by Shravanam Kirtanam. I don't know anything about that. Apiva yogo, I'm not a yogi. My senses are not controlled. Tava Vaishnava, I'm not a Vaishnav. Jnanam, I don't have any knowledge. I am not studying Shastra. I don't know anything. Vasubha karma, I don't have great piety. Kiyadaho says jatirapyastyava, I don't have any such jati, any big family that I was born into. Hinartadika sadeki tvaita tapya chedya mulasati. But I have this achedya mulasati. I have this hope, the root of this hope, and that is that Krishna is hinartadika sadeke. He's very kind to those persons who feel themselves very fallen and have no good qualities. So I have this hope in my heart. And he says, hey, Gopi Janavallabha Vyatayate Haha Madhashaivamam. I'm praying then to Gopinath, the topmost form of Krishna with the gopis. I have this hope in my heart that, dear Gopinath, that because you're hinartadika sadike, you give mercy to those persons who feel themselves the most fallen. I have this hope. And that hope, that it's everything for me, but vitayate, it's also causing pain in my heart because I'm not having it. And this, my Guru Maharaj used to say, this is Atma Krandana. This is the crying of the soul. And this is the medicine to give up this ahankara and mamata, which is blocking our chanting. So there's a connection between humility, bhajan, and siddha-pranali. And we should understand how Krishna gives mercy. He, as we said, Krishna doesn't hear us directly, but he does hear us. How does he hear us? Because Krishna is in the heart of his devotees. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhanam hridayam tuham. Krishna hears through his devotees. And as Jiva Goswami explains the phrase sadanugraha in Bhakti Sandarbha Anucheda 180, he explains how the devotees are mercy and how Krishna personally doesn't give mercy. Because mercy, he says, kripa rupas cheta vikaro. It's a movement of the heart, which occurs, that cheta vikar, or that transformation of the heart takes place in someone when they feel some suffering. Kripa rupas cheta vikaro, he paradukasya. When you see the suffering of some other person, sparsha, it touches your heart. But the problem is that Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. And although we say, hey, what is it? Hey, Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandha Jagat Pate, that you're the ocean of mercy. My Guru Maharaj once said that if you go to Krishna and say, hey, Krishna, you're the ocean of mercy, Krishna will say, you came to the wrong person. I gave that ocean away to my devotees. Krishna is an ocean of mercy, because the devotees are non-different from Krishna, because the devotees are in Krishna's heart and Krishna's in the heart of the devotees. So if we try to approach the Lord, even through his holy name, without the devotee, then we can't get anything. And then we spoke about the most basic principle, the most simple Hare Krishna, Hare Bol kind of thing, and how deep it is. And what Srila Prabhupada said in the Science of Self-Realization in many places, he says, this is our whole philosophy. Hare Krishna means, oh, energy of God, oh God, Krishna, please engage me in your service. It is our nature to render service. Somehow or other, we've come to the service of the material things. But when the service is transformed to the service of the spiritual energy, then our life is perfect. Life is perfect. Perfect means siddha. Then our life, our siddha, we be at siddha-deha. When we develop the service mentality, which comes through the chanting of the holy name. And we spoke something from the Garuda Purana, which is quoted, a verse quoted by our Goswamis, how the verbal words bhaj specifically means seva. So bhakti and seva means the same thing. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he would often translate bhakti as devotional service. But how do we engage in that service? For those of you who recite these prayers that we passed out to everybody, you may recall, Lagado Mujako Krishna Charan, Lagado Mujako Gora Charan. And if you don't have these prayers, these are prayers we recite before we chant. You can send me a message and I'll be happy to send them to you. Or I can post them in the group again if enough devotees want. That this is what Gurudev does. Gurudev is Sevaka Bhagavan. Krishna Sevya Bhagavan. He's meant to be served. And Gurudev is Sevaka Bhagavan. He's a manifestation of the Lord who is our connection to service. So Lagado Mujako Krishna Charan. Gurudev, please engage me in the service to Krishna's feet. Lagado Mujako Gora Charan. Please engage me in the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So that siddha-deha arises by service to Guru. Nitya siddha Krishna prema sadhya kabu noi. It doesn't arrive, this Krishna prema does not arise through any type of sadhana, sadhya kabu noi. But at the same time, Shravanadi Sudha Chitte Korye Udoy. It arises through Shravanam Kirtanam, which, hello, is sadhana bhakti. But it arises Sevan Mukhi Jivado when we render service to Gurudev. Tate Krishna Bhaje Kore Gururu Sevan. When I chant as a service for Gurudev. And then, in one of our last sessions, and I'm almost finished here, I'm just losing breath. It's a lot of things I told you we're running today. We spoke about how many rounds do we chant and what is the nature of that chanting and how, let's go ahead and look at some of these things again. Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes Chaitanya Bhagavat, where Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu Bole Jana Lakeshwar Bole Kore. He says, do you understand who is a Lakeshwar? Lakeshwar in India means, now we say Kroreshwar, because Lakeshwar doesn't mean very much. But Lakeshwar just means a rich person. Or literally it means someone who's chanting a lakh, Mahaprabhu says. If someone's chanting a lakh, then I take my meals in his home. And there's so much stress in chanting 64 rounds. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and I had the good fortune, I met maybe 6 or 7 different disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And a couple of them were very, very kind to me. And I've come to find out that in the Gaudiya month, he was not giving initiation into 64 rounds practically to anyone. Digest that one. We always say that in ISKCON, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was initiating everybody in 64 rounds. Most of the devotees he was initiating into 4 rounds a day. Mm-hmm. But he was telling everybody 64 rounds, and the way to chant 64 rounds, he said, was you just constantly chant while you're doing service. And one story is there that some devotees approached Srila Bhaktisiddhanta once and said, Guru Maharaj, this devotee who stays in the ashram with me, he's not chanting 64 rounds a day. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, he's chanting 64 rounds. And the devotee said, Guru Maharaj, no, he's not. I'm sorry, I'm with him constantly. except in the bathroom, and he's definitely not chanting 64 rounds. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told him, you don't see him chanting 64 rounds, but I see, because he's constantly chanting. Kirtaniya Siddha-hari. And as we mentioned, this 64 round thing, I'm okay with it, but Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and in his commentary, he says that Nanyunam Nadikam Vapi Japam Kuryad Dane Dane. Don't chant too much, don't chant too little. And he explains that there's two types of chanting. There's Sankyanam and Asankyanam. Sankyanam means when I'm counting my chanting, and that's my quota with my guru. And for devotees in ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada said that quota is 16 rounds, no less. And Prabhupada said you can chant more, but no less than 16 rounds. And so Sanatana Goswami says, you may chant more, but that should be, it's not a casual thing. You should do that in connection with your guru. And then we read some things also from Sanatana Goswami's Sarita Darshani Tika on the Bhagavatam, where he says that Guru Seva is even more important than Nama-bhajan. And he gives the example of a chaste wife. Sutan hit veti pati brata patyur eva guru. How a chaste wife, while she's serving her husband, she doesn't care for her son even. She's more devoted to her husband. In the same way, a genuine disciple who's absorbed in serving Guru doesn't depend on hearing and chanting, but rather they depend on service to Guru. And there's a number of different descriptions like that. One is found in Jiva Goswami's purport to Bhagavatam 11.255, and there's a BBT translation of that. Quoting a Jiva Goswami, gives some Sanskrit. If a devotee is absorbed in the loving service of Krishna directly or indirectly, he's always glorifying the Lord by transcendental loving service. Therefore, even if he chants the holy name of Krishna with improper attention, due to being absorbed in the Lord's service, the mercy of the Lord purifies his heart of all sinful reactions. So our chanting of the holy name is service to Guru. But that service is most important. And we gave some different stories to the opposite of that, how Jayapataka Maharaj was instructed by Srila Prabhupada not to chant more than 16 rounds a day. But at the same time, how important it is, and how Srila Prabhupada says that chanting of 16 rounds a day is the most important thing. And how Haridas Thakur said that Kanda Kanda Deha More Jaya Jari Pran, even you may cut my body to pieces, but I'll never stop the chanting. My Guru Maharaj, he said that the most important service is to hear the Bhagavatam every day. So then someone may say, well, what about our 16 rounds? He said, no, that's in another category. He said, better you die. Better that you die than not chant your 16 rounds. There's no question of that. But aside from that, the most important service is to hear Krishna Katha every day. And then we spoke some about how when we become one with that mantra, mano madhyestito mantra madhisitam manaha, we meet our Gurudev there. And we meet Gurudev in the mood of bhakti. And that gives us siddha-pranali. And this is the process given by Narottam Das Thakur, given by Rupa Goswami, given by Sanatana Goswami, given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, given by Srila Prabhupada, described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all the different Puranas. It's the only process given that's described in all those literatures. There is another process which is followed by some Vaishnavas who are on the external path. The followers ultimately of Jan Chandra Goswami. But we're following the internal path of Raghunath Das Goswami. So, phew, I'm going to sigh of relief. I finished. I was running as fast as I could. And we kind of gave an overview. I hope you don't feel more confused by all that. What I'd like to do next is to give a little summary. We can look at it again, actually. It might be a little easier. Give an outline, give this outline to everybody, and how we went through these different points, what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada and others said about Siddha-pranali, evidences supporting Siddha-pranali, how the holy name is everything in general, how in particular it's a process for this age, and the necessity, though, to go into samadhi, and how the Yoga Sutras and Harinam Chintamani speak about the fault of inattention. And then the problem of the ahankara in connection with that inattention. And then the question, does Krishna hear our prayers? Yes and no. And he hears them through Guru. When we develop humility, and then there's a connection between the humility bhajan and siddha-pranali. There's a connection between the holy name and Guru seva. And the best seva is nam seva, best service to Guru. So that's our discussion. And I'm finished. Wow, I did it a little faster than I thought. So I'm going to stop there. And if anybody has any reflections or comments or anything, I'd like to have some discussion. Let's hear it. Tirthakar Prabhu, Jai. We don't always get to hear from you. Nice to see you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice to see all of you. It's such a nice, inspiring Sangha. I really like your point where you said that when we chant, we have so many imperfections, and in order to somehow go through those imperfections, we have to be humble. And actually, the humility, you quoted the Shikshastaka, and then actually it means that we surrender to Guru and we serve to Guru. That's our humility is expressed. And I was wondering, it's really nice, because because when you practice like for years, you perceive like there is really so many so many mistakes, and so imperfections like in our character, especially. I'm not saying maybe externally, okay, we may be even perfect some things, but we can see more and more in our character how we are drifting always somewhere else. And I was wondering, like, how important is when you deal with the Guru, that, because I was just writing some short message to my Guru Maharaj, and somehow I'm not much into that external showing humility all the time, especially in the words. I like to show it through the service and dedication, but somehow I don't feel comfortable with it. Kind of seems to me like pretentious because it's not really there so much in the heart. I would like that it will be there, but it's external in the words when you write some message that all the time saying, oh, it's just by your mercy and all these things. I just wondering if you maybe can comment a little bit on that, how important is this comparing to our dedication in practical life?
Yeah, again, it's Kolpanam sometimes. We have this imagination. Oftentimes a neophyte devotee, he hears they should clean everything. And neophyte devotee is someone who comes into the room, looks around and says, yeah, it's clean. No problem. I don't have to do anything. And he doesn't start sweeping. He just thinks the room is clean. It looks clean to me. I kind of sorted things out. That's what some people do. They move things in kind of a neat way, but they haven't done any deep clean. Then when you start taking a broom and going in the room and sweeping, all of a sudden you see, oh my God, the room is filthy dirty. And there's so much dust and things that comes up. So until we begin a serious practice of nama-bhajan, sometimes we have this kolpanam, this illusion that my heart's clean and I'm so good because I organized a few things over here and over there, but I haven't really started the deep clean. And then when we start the deep clean, we're horrified. Oh my God, my heart is so dirty. There's so many terrible, terrible things there. Again, with the kolpana, with the neophyte devotee, neophyte devotee sometimes likes to make a show, likes to get a lot of attention for themselves, because the neophyte devotee's nature is anartha yukta vasta. They have anarthas, and so they want to have attention from Gurudev. And so one of the ways they try to get attention is by doing very flamboyant shows of humility and things, oh, Gurudev. And it reminds me of, who was Prabhupada's servant at that time? It's not Hari Sari, the other famous prominent servant of Prabhupada. What was
Shutakirti?
Shutakirti, exactly. Once Shutakirti was traveling with Srila Prabhupada in America, and he marked that wherever they went, the devotees were crying. Prabhupada would come and the devotees sing and they were so ecstatic, they started crying. Prabhupada would stay for a few days, and then when he would leave, everybody would start crying. And Shutakirti was feeling bad. He thought, man, I'm not crying. There's something wrong with me. So finally he went to Srila Prabhupada. It's a famous story. And he said, Prabhupada, I'm very unfortunate. Everybody else is crying. I don't have any feelings. I'm not crying. And Prabhupada looked at him. And Prabhupada asked him, he said, do you like to serve me? And Shutakirti said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, that is love. Love is not just making a big show. And as I wrote a little article, rather long article, which we posted in our Pariprashna WhatsApp group some time back, of different pramanas from our acharyas about the importance of hiding our feelings. And one of those aspects is gopa yad guru matmana. We should hide our guru. We should hide our feelings toward our guru. In the material world, we don't understand the difference between mundane love and transcendental love. And with that misunderstanding, we think, and I've seen so many devotees, I've seen devotees who write Vyas Puja offerings and they say, dear Gurudev, I love you so much and this and that. And just like you would do with a girl. When you start going out with a girl, after you've been out with her for 4 times, you say, one day you say, I love you. And she's really excited. and by making that statement, I love you, then somehow that's supposed to make a special relationship between the two of you. And this is, you're the person I'm giving my attention to. You're the person I appreciate more than anyone else. That's a mundane feeling, and it's our mundane expression and that we sometimes try to offer, oh, Gurudev, I love you. But the real love is shown in our nama-bhajan. Our real love is shown in our Guru Seva. Not that we have to make a big show of it. I remember a beautiful story. There's one devotee, one of my godbrothers, and I'm so bad with names. I haven't seen him, of course, in over 30 years. He lives in Bali. But he was in Bhubaneswar at one point, and he was a very humble devotee. He was a backbencher. My Guru Maharaj once commented, he said, look out for the backbenchers, not the prominent devotees who are giving online classes and in the front row and everybody's clapping their hands and saying Ki Jai. But those devotees who nobody notices, who are in the back. And this devotee was on Padayatra always, and he was serving the devotees, doing archana for the deities and working very, very hard. And he practically got no recognition from anybody. And I happened to be, I was going to see Guru Maharaj and I was behind him. Guru Maharaj apparently didn't see me. And I was kind of behind a column. And this devotee came up and Guru Maharaj looked around in different directions. He didn't see me because I was behind the column. And he saw nobody was there. And he called that devotee over and he put him on his lap and started rubbing his head and embraced him. And I could understand this is the mood of Guru, that someone gets mercy in a private way. And when Guru gives a lot of attention to someone like Mohini Murti practically ignored the demigods, but she's original Miss Universe, and she was winking very sexily and whatever at all the demons. And they're all really excited, and she's smiling at them and leading them on. And meanwhile, behind her back, Mohini Murti was giving the nectar to all the demigods. So Gurudev is something like that. It's not just something that we make a show of, but as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said in that foundational letter, it's something that we realize. And on our relationship with our Gurudev is of 2 aspects. One is a very personal aspect, and we want to be friends, we want to have a relationship. But a second aspect is there's the position of Guru. Just like we give the example of a bank teller. The bank teller is a person, and we go in and we say, hey, Joe, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a week, this and that, and how's the wife? And we're friends with him. But even if the bank teller loses his job, you still have your account with the bank. And Guru is a position in that sense too. He's connecting us with the parampara. But when we go to Guru, we should be personal. just as we would speak and we would say that the bank teller's name and be personal with him, and especially so with Guru, because that's our connection with Guru. But Guru is both a principle and a person. And as a principle, he's Krishna's recognizing through Gurudev our nama-bhajan and our service. And it's not just the Guru Giri, or the person who wants to advertise their Guru, or the Sneha-Silita, the person who wants a lot of public affection from Gurudev, who's getting the real mercy. But it's that person who's actually rendering service. And it may not be a very big public person like this godbrother of mine that Guru Maharaj put on his lap and rubbed his head. Is that helpful, Prabhu?
Oh, it's amazing, Prabhu. That's exactly what probably I needed to hear. Thank you.
Oh, Krishna. These are a little bit confidential things in the sense that we tend to make a template in our institutions, in our temples and things, and that's okay. It just gets things going. We have a way, we have a line. We tell people, excuse me, sir, are you from here? Are you from out of town? Well, great, we're passing these out to everybody. And we give them a book. We have a line for giving them books. And then when they move, then we have a line to convince them to move into the temple. You know, if you really want to be serious about Krishna bhakti, you should try living in the ashram. And we have, so we tell them something, and they move into the temple. And then we have other ways that we train them, and it's all kind of a lot of times a template. To the extent that we're able to be personal and mature with people, we're going to be more successful. When you see all the successful preachers in our movement, it's to the extent that they're able to be personal. And so in that sense, I think this can be said kind of a little bit confidential, because those persons who are very mechanical and institutional, they don't always go in this direction. My thought, observation. You want to add anything else, Chitakar Prabhu?
No, I mean, I was kind of a little struggling with that, because I was thinking that I should be like more, because sometimes, as you said, like sometimes I hear some my god brothers, how they write some offerings, something like that. And I'm thinking like, I'm so shallow,
Yeah. In a similar way, I used to watch some of my god brothers, and I used to see, damn, these guys are running around and they're telling everybody that Gurudev is the next acharya, and they're practically foaming at the mouth, fanatics. But look, there's so many devotees that are coming because of them. And my preaching, nobody hardly comes, because I never speak about Guru Maharaj like that. But those people who come like that, when someone says, like when somebody once approached me, he's a younger devotee who'd never met Guru Maharaj, but he was a grand disciple of Guru Maharaj. He came and said, Madhavananda, what do you think? Someone said that Guru Maharaj is the acharya after Prabhupada. What do you think of that? And I said, well, that sounds nice. Why not? I said, but isn't that up to Krishna? Am I supposed to vote? Or something? It's such a cheap thing. So all those kind of fanatics like that, they're looking for some external thing. Gurudev's the biggest person. He's the biggest person. He's the biggest for me. And I don't like all these external shows. I see all those persons who run around waving the flag and chanting, Amar Guru, Jagat Guru, my Gurudev is the greatest. And I see it at so many Vyas Puja programs. And sadhus oftentimes accept those kind of offerings because they're like a small child. And like we give the example, sometimes a child goes to the father and says, Dad, can I have $10 from you? And the father says, what's the money for? Well, I'm going to buy you a birthday present. He takes some money and goes and buys a necktie for a Hare Krishna devotee. How often do you wear a necktie to the carpet? but the father accepts it. He gave the money for it. The child bought it. The father accepts it because he doesn't really want it. He gave the money for it, but he appreciates the sentimentality of the child, although the child is not very mature and doesn't really know how to please the father in the best way. He still accepts it. So I see a lot of Vyas Puja programs kind of like that. And personally, I find a lot of them not always so inspiring, just to hear the same thing. Gurudev, I'm very fallen, you're very great, I love you. Just over and over again. But there is some benefit in doing that and expressing something toward Guru and our understanding of it and his position and our relationship with him and appreciation for the gifts that he's given. That's important. But it may be like a small child.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tirtha Karpo. So glad you could take part today. We love your Sangha. You're always very wise. And am I going to see you in Czech? Are you going to come for the retreat?
Yeah, actually, I will maybe stop for the 1 day there only.
So I hope I can get to see you. It's been a long time. It's been a few years now since we get to see you.
Yeah, it's a long time, yeah.
And there's some talk, I don't know where or if or how it happened, but Leela Purushottam Prabhu was kind of like the chief gangster, chief mafia person in Czech Republic. He was talking about maybe having some private program, a smaller thing with his group of devotees. I don't know how that'll work out between my schedule and the schedule there, but maybe you could be part of that. I too, I don't know.
I think it will be really nice. I don't get I had already several trips to Czech this year, so maybe I can add one more.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anybody else with any reflections, comments, questions, protests, objections? Okay, I mean, we've been through all this before, so I understand that everybody's going to have something. Leela Purushottam, we don't have anything? You always have something. At least we get to hear your voice and maybe get to see. There he is. Hi, Bo.
I'm just in the middle of processing the harvest from the garden, so I was off the idea to putting the tomatoes to the jar.
Wow, everything's all green and coming out now, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, last time we was there, it was some snow still, some snow coming still. I remember when there wasn't anything much other than your greenhouse.
Yeah. Now it's full on harvest time. Potatoes are ready, tomatoes are ready, green peas are ready. Everything.
That's why this weekend we're going for the Buchu Festival in Hungary in New Brajadam.
In New Brajadam, they have it this weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a harvest time even for the grains and these crops. Traditionally, the time of these festivals. Well, the only thing, we've discussed over those classes many topics. So I just want to express that I'm so grateful that we could go so deep into this topic. And I will repeat myself. I mentioned it a few times. I see these like time to time you really stick out with something what I use the term sampradaya rakshanam. So because that's one of my concerns is that devotees don't tend to be precise and deep about our bhajan pranali. They tend to take things rather superficially, cheaply, and then when they are exposed with some other suggestions that sounds good, it sounds good. Oh, you should meditate on Radha Krishna's Leela, and then they can't really differentiate and substantiate those suggestions with a proper Shastri Pramanas and with our Goswami Grantha Siddhanta. So we can only be grateful that we got that chance with you to go really in depth through this topic. And I'm looking forward actually for the sheet that you promised today in the beginning. of different pramanas and the pillars of the discussion, because there were so many actually. It would take much more listening to those questions, and it will probably for me take some more listening to the whole theory again, because yeah, as I say, there is this how to say phenomena in the movement that we tend to deprive people from the access to the taste of Krishna consciousness with the fear of sahajya or these things. And many times it happens that for decades our practice may be very dry if we don't get like the real substance from real nama-bhajan, but we stick to rather external things in our devotion, not even devotion, maybe just being a member of the institution and whatever. Then after a few decades, you just find yourself like it just doesn't make sense to me anymore. I'm doing it 20 years and I don't feel anything. I don't have any internal realization.
We lost you. Are you going in and out?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I received the message on the phone. So it's really like a mass phenomena that people are like just getting dry, not really understanding what is the essence of their bhajan pranali, of the bhajan pranali that we got from Srila Prabhupada. That we
Now you're back.
Yeah, I'm receiving the messages on WhatsApp, and it's always
your Guru Maharaj is speaking to you through your ear, your heart. You're getting divine messages from you're getting divine messages from your Guru Maharaj in your heart.
No, it's organizational regarding Bhakti Sangha, and my friend Madhu Pangal decided that he will flood me with the messages right now. So that's why I'm so grateful that we could really get the strong Siddhantic conclusions on why we are doing that bhajan that we are doing and how we are doing it. So that's great value of that.
I'm a little maxed out for the next few days. I mean, like it's almost scary how maxed out I am. But if I forget somehow, don't hesitate. It's not a big thing for me to put it together. A little bit of a big thing, but it's not so hard. I'll put together just the most important pramanas and send these out.
I would be grateful. I would be grateful for that, because then one can orient easier in the whole topic. And I have to say, I was really amazed with your how you call it, what's the word, like today's session, how you could concise the whole 11 classes into such a thing. And
I don't know.
It was really like paka, like step by step.
Well, thank you. I was worried. I was running so fast that nobody would be able to keep up and understand and follow anything. We gave a lot of classes recently about the Holy Name of Padayatra, which I think devotees might like. Or she could tell you.
Hoping to get them soon.
Yeah, I am asking them, and they promise, but they're just maxed out right now. So we'll see. By the way, speaking of Padayatra, it's such a wonderful thing. Next year, they're talking about doing 3 months in Hungary.
3 months. Wow.
Yeah, which would translate, that maybe you go for 1 week or 2 weeks or longer, something. And I posted a bunch of pictures of the Padayatra on Facebook that the boys had given me. And Mitra Prabhu, who maybe you don't know who Mitra is, he is wonderful. He's a Prabhupada disciple. He's like Mr. Rainbow Gathering, Mr. Musician. He's a devotee. He's a Prabhupada disciple with a great sense of humor. He's a great musician, plays guitar and banjo and all kinds of instruments, any kind of stringed instrument. He's a very talented musician, and he's such a good preacher. He goes to these hippie rainbow gathering things and can really talk with people. He's just really into the holy name. So anyway, he saw my comments about it, and he wrote in and said, wow, maybe I'll come and do that next year. And so I tagged Sri Yuga Prabhu and said, man, you got to get him. If you can get Mitra to come, it'd be really ecstatic. He's first class.
Yeah,
And
they
then you
just
got to come.
started on Sunday in Czech with Padayatra. So if you are super anxious, you can come for Czech Padayatra.
Yeah, well, we should go to Czech Padayatra, and on the way we should stop by your place and help you pick some potatoes and tomatoes and stuff and help with the harvest festival. That's what community does. I wish I could be there. Really, I with my creaky back and whatever, I'd be out there doing the best I could.
You're doing so much with helping us getting deep into stuff. Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you soon, Prabhuji. We'll
Yes,
see
I'm
how
looking forward like anything.
we'll see how it all goes. Okay. Anybody else want to share anything about today's topic? I mean, it was kind of a review, so I understand. I hope everybody's able to digest, and I will send a summary out to everybody again. So if anybody wants to share anything more, we can do that now. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and stop. Krishna Kon, you don't want to share anything? You always have some good comments.
Hare Krishna. Well, for me, I just it was just such a mirror for my japa times and my attempts to follow the most important instruction of my Gurudevas. So for me, I don't really have so much of a comment, except that I really took it as a wake-up call for my chanting.
That's beautiful. That's a great comment. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think then we'll go ahead and stop. And next week we should be back in the same place. I'm sorry so much. The last 2 weeks before, 1 week we were in New Brajadam giving classes, and the week after that we were on Padayatra, and it was just too much.
I have a word.
Gorni Thai Prabhu, Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you very much. I see that in your program there is 2 lines. One is the Yoga Sutra line, and others is the devotional line. And I see some differences. Can you comment that? Because as I see that Yoga Sutra gives a lot of stress on the mind's condition, which I think is good, it's very helpful, but still, as I see that in the Bhakti line, you stress the spiritualized entity start to grow up. And then the mind is there, but the mind starts to be destroyed, practically, you're told or mentioned, if I understand properly. So is it true that in a Bhakti line, when, of course, we control the mind, we study the mind, we put it into the goodness, but then we more focus on the spiritual emotions, which is not given by the material mind. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I would say that the yoga line, as we see in Bhagavad Gita, yogi namapi sarve shamma gatinantaratmana, that the topmost yogi is a bhakta. And yoga is just kind of a very simplistic process in general for connecting with God. And bhakti yoga is one of the processes. But bhakti is more, as you said, yoga is a very general thing with the mind. How to control the mind? Well, we can do it through hatha yoga, very difficult, but through some bodily postures and things, we may do something to help controls the mind. But better than that, for us ultimately, is bhakti yoga. And as you said, in bhakti yoga, there's emotions. And in particular, those emotions come out in a personal way with Vaishnavas and with Gurudev. when we're doing Harikatha, when we're doing Kirtan with them, then those emotions come out in a natural, strong way. So yoga is just a basic principle, but bhakti yoga is a particular one. And yoga is correct. We have to control the mind. And also we're told that in bhakti yoga, but how do we do it in bhakti yoga? That's a particular type of yoga. And we're doing it through emotions, through personal relationships. It's a good point. Is that helpful?
Yeah. So what you do if you are far from a temple, far for devotees who do nice kirtan, bhajan, then how you develop your spiritual emotions?
We develop in the separation, just like Srimati Radharani is feeling separation from Krishna even before they meet. That's purva rag. So we can also sometimes persons who are coming to Krishna consciousness say, "Wow, I'd really like to meet those devotees. I've heard about them. I'd like to meet the devotees." It's kind of purva rag. And then another type is prabhas, when Gurudeva, the Vaishnavas, are a long ways away, and I'm not near them, and I'm missing them. And in that separation, there's a kind of union. But the union is there in the heart when we're chanting and when we're feeling those things. Bhakti yoga, bhakti yoga, bhakti yoga dana, bhakti Krishna nama smarana krandana. Chaitanya Bhagavat Vrindavan Das Thakur says that this bhakti yoga is the topmost thing, and bhakti yoga means chanting the holy names, which in turn means remembering Krishna and crying for Krishna. So that crying of that emotion is essential. And those emotions come when we have loving relationships with the cows, as you know, as a service. We have loving relationships with the deities. We have loving relationships with the children that we're teaching. In Gurukul, we have loving relationships with the devotees in the temple. And then when we're not around them, we feel that separation, and that should fuel our nama-bhajan. Is that helpful, Gwani Taipuba?
Yeah, but you told crying is coming after you get ruchi. So what do you before?
Well, crying means different types of crying. My Guru Maharaj called it atma-krandana, or the crying of the soul. And that comes way before ruchi. That's just an existential cry where I don't know who I am. What am I doing? Krishna Kun told me that before she joined, she was praying to Jesus. She was praying to everybody she could think, please show me what is the truth. What should I do? It's a kind of crying. We have
But it is
the
kind
soul.
of, it's a crying, not like a,
Not like ecstasy.
it's a kind of symbolic cry. Yeah.
It's a crying of the
It's not,
it's a crying of the heart because there's an emptiness in our heart, because there's something lacking. And
yeah,
we
but
want
it's kind of intellectual.
I wouldn't say it's intellectual at all.
No.
But it's very existential, that I don't know who I am. Where am I at? What's going on? It's not totally emotional. I can understand your point in the sense that it's not bhakti. It's not a symptom of ecstasy or something. But
Yeah, you
it's
don't
still,
keep it.
it's
It's
coming
coming
from
up and then you forget.
that happens also sometimes. But
Yeah.
it comes in the beginning. This is what establishes, and sometimes I even see with devotees, they join because they like prasadam, because the devotees are cool, because it kind of makes sense, but they haven't really had this existential crying in the heart. And sometimes that comes at a later state. That comes even sometimes I've seen with devotees, maybe their guru falls down and goes away, and all of a sudden it's like such a slap in the face, and they realize, oh my God, I've been practicing this for 20 years, but what do I have? I don't have anything. It's important.
Yeah, I also joined because of that, because I was just really exhausted and in with the material world and really understood that there's no goal. And I found that Krishna consciousness, devotees, gives goal. But then after chanting, and the chanting doesn't give really realization, as you say, not giving the spiritual perfection. And then I don't know what to do, because I'm on the proper way, but I'm still not
What I
experiencing.
personally find is everything is natural. And if we're trying to chant and thinking, I'm trying to chant, I'm trying to chant, I'm trying to chant, I'm being in samadhi, that's very artificial.
Yeah.
But if I'm chanting because Gurudev told me to chant, because I love Gurudev, and if I'm in a connection with that chanting, I'm doing service for Guru. I'm cleaning the toilets, I'm washing the floor, I'm helping cook, I'm giving donations, I'm doing whatever I am. That's something I can really, and I'm chanting at the same time. And even Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath both say that you may not have so much feeling in your chanting. Prabhupada said that, but we may have feeling for Gurudev. And so we keep that chanting. We never give that up. Better I die. That chanting is my connection with my Gurudev. If I stop the chanting, then I'll lose the connection. But in that chanting, I also have to do service because that's the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra. And I can have feeling for that. And so oftentimes, I think you've experienced, sometimes our chanting japa may be very dry, but then we go and take care of the cows. And it's so sweet. They're so loving and it's so nice. So we go to Bhagavatam class, or we dress the deities, we do this service or that. Sometimes we're more attracted by that. Hopefully because we have some feelings for the Vaishnavas and for Gurudev within that.
Mm. And the other question is that there is a level when you definitely know what is you are attracted, what is you are attracted for in Krishna Lila. Then you start really Raganuga Bhakti and you have someone who guide you. That's one level. Another level when you are sadhaka and you will try to do anartha nivritti, you try to purify yourself. So how you check yourself, then you really want someone who is guiding you for a higher level. How you check yourself if you are qualified or not for searching for such a guru.
Your question reminds me of a friend of mine who, I was a brand new bhakta, had been in the temple for just a few days. And I made friends with one Prabhupada disciple in Los Angeles. And for some reason, he confided in me. And he told me, he said, Bhakta Mark, maybe you can give me some advice. He said, I've been a devotee for a long time, over 10 years now. And he said, so I'm thinking maybe it's time I took sannyas. On the other hand, my father's offering me a job painting houses, and maybe I should just get married and paint houses. So, Bhakta Mark, what's your opinion? What do you think I should do? And I remember looking at him thinking, this guy's crazy, man. What is this? Asking a question like that. But really, the answer to that question is, it's a nonsense question. Because if we're Saranagata, if we're surrendered, then Krishna will take care of us. And Krishna knows what we need better than I know myself. So the main thing is I should just completely surrender. And Krishna wants me to become advanced. If I need association, if I need someone, Krishna will send that. He wants that more than I do. But I have to show I'm genuine about it. And Krishna may test me. I remember after my Guru Maharaj left, we were, oh my God, what are we going to do without Gurudev? And we want higher association. And then at Tota Gopinath Temple, I met one Babaji. And he was so nice. He'd been chanting japa. He'd been living there for 40 years. And somehow he really liked me very much. He got really fired up when I would come. He'd start saying, Madhavananda, Madhavananda, and come and give me a big hug. And some of us started associating with him. And he seemed like a really good guy. And then there was a whole little group around it. And maybe we were associating with him because we were really wanting to have some higher Vaishnav. And then at one point, there was one young girl, she was about 17 or 18, the daughter of one of my god sisters. And he was like showing special attention to her. And he started like rubbing her on the back. And then at one point he kissed her on the mouth privately away from, and it freaked her out. And she came and told all of us, and we just distanced ourselves from him at that time. But I realized it was such a good lesson from Krishna. And I don't mean to be offensive to that sadhu. I think actually he was a nice sadhu in some ways, but he wasn't what we were hoping for. And we had some imagination about it. And we were just approaching because I had this idea. And then later, like a few months later, another one of my godbrothers came to me and said, Madhavananda, you got to come to Vrindavan, and there's XYZ sadhu there, and everybody's associating with him. And I told them, I said, I have faith that my Guru Maharaj wants me to have sadhu sangha more than I do. But how am I going to get that sadhu sangha? If I leave the service that he trusted me with, which is making these publications and doing, if I leave that service and I go running somewhere else, even though the sadhu may be very advanced, I'm not going to please Guru Maharaj, and I'm not going to get anything. And so anyway, that's my humble realization that if we just focus on a relationship with our Gurudev, even if he's physically not present anymore, as in the case of my Guru Maharaj at that time, if we just hold on to what we have with Guru, then Krishna will make all arrangements. And Krishna later on did. Just another month or two after that, he sent me someone that I had great faith in, who helped me for over 10 years. And then later he left this world. And that person was very monumental in helping me. But he came, I didn't go looking for him. He came to me. And my Guru Maharaj said the same thing to me once. The first day that I went to be Guru Maharaj's personal servant, I was alone with him in the hut. And it was late at night. And he was reading, and I was just chanting japa. And then suddenly he turned to me and started speaking in a very personal way. And he was mentioning about how after Prabhupada had left, he had no association. No one was there in Bhubaneswar. And so he was going to Cuttack, to the Gaudiya Mutt temple, and they had a library. He was reading some books. And one of the devotees, he said, one day told him, said, oh, it's very good you're coming here, because your Swami Maharaj, which is what they called Srila Prabhupada, your Swami Maharaj's books are not so good, but you come here, you'll get more. And Guru Maharaj told me, he said that was very offensive. So I stopped going there. I didn't go there after that. And then I was here alone and I had no association. And he said, then one day, and he mentioned one other disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who just one day just showed up. And Guru Maharaj told me, he said, I don't know why, but he liked me. He liked me very much. And he told me, he said, I never went looking for him, but he came to me. And I always, if you have something, if you have initiation, you have service to your Gurudev, hold on to that. And through that, that'll be a doorway, that'll be some wealth by which you can purchase more Sangha. But if we give that up, just like a dog who sees his own, the dog has a bone in his mouth, and he looks in the reflection of the water, and he sees his own reflection, he thinks, oh, that dog has a bigger bone. And then he opens his mouth and jumps in the water, he loses everything. So in the same way, if we drop our relationship with our Guru, we drop the instructions we've gotten and run to some other sadhu, even he may seem like a bigger sadhu, we'll lose everything. Is that helpful, Gaunitai Prabhu?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
The last thing is about the books. So at the beginning we read books, but I don't think we are reading it really deeply. We cannot. And then there is a stage when we start to understand that others have more understanding of the books. So you listen sadhus classes about the same books like Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, and you start to realize so deep these books are. And then you listen like your classes, like other classes, which basically glorifying other books like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and others. So you start to read that books. The same thing will happen, that you will guide it by your heart, which book you have to read for your next advancement.
Yes. And let me explain a little something right away. Srila Prabhupada says in Madhya Lila chapter 25, toward the end of the chapter, CC, that we have these books, this Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. He said the devotee should read these books, and these are all that we need. And really, those books are all that we need. Everything is in those books. Now, why do I personally go and read Bhaktisiddhanta? Why do we publish things from Bhaktisiddhanta? Why do we translate new things and new songs and books like Bhakti Ratnakar and Prema-Vilas, et cetera, because I want to try to bring in devotees who are attracted by those things and show that we have all of this in Prabhupada's movement. But really, all this necessary, just like we went through this whole long thing, right? Siddha-pranali, this and that, and all these verses, and oh my God. And what do we end up with? Srila Prabhupada's Science of Self-Realization. The meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra is service. The most simple thing that Prabhupada gave us, but it's so deep. So I don't think it's necessary, but as service you might. And I have a particular service. I'm the director of the Gaudiya Odia Research Association. And I use that to try to show that everything is in Prabhupada's books. That was my Guru Maharaj's mission, he told me personally. So I want to do that. But is it required that I should read, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries or read the books of Bhaktisiddhanta or Bhaktivinoda? No, it's not required. But it depends on the service that we're doing. If we're doing a scholarly service and we're going to come in touch with other scholars or other learned Vaishnavas, then it's very helpful. Then it's highly recommended. And Prabhupada also recommended that. He said that in one place, he said we should have a library and we should have all different commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, including Shankaracharya. And devotees should study all those commentaries and know them. But he didn't say that for everybody in the movement. He said that for certain scholars. And the next question comes, well, gee whiz, the scholars are the most advanced? No. And Krishna shows that himself. Krishna's a cowherd boy. He's a gwala. He's just taking care of the cows. And in India, the guys that take care of the cows, they're not like the biggest scholars and pundits. They're very simple persons. But the most important thing is bhakti. And we have all this scholarship and whatever just to establish the importance of bhakti. Srila Shivaram Maharaj wrote that wonderful book on the Bhagavad Gita. And he studied different commentaries of Vishwanath and et cetera, just to establish that what Srila Prabhupada said is authorized, because some scholars were criticizing, why is he translating yoga as bhakti sometimes and this and that? And actually what Prabhupada was doing is following Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladevi Vibhushan, who were giving like that. Prabhupada was following a tradition, and Srila Shivaram Maharaj did a very scholarly thing just to bring us to the point that maybe a new bhakta could be at. The point of a new bhakta is to have faith in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. But Shivaram Maharaj went through all the scholarly things to convince certain sophisticated people that Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is authorized. If they're simple, they didn't need all that. But it was a great service that Maharaj did, and he had the strength to do that.
So Prabhupada translated the Bhagavatam until the 14th chapter. The 10th canto, 14th chapter.
And he finished the 13th.
13, okay. So there are very, very deep, very important parts after that. So I'm not saying what you recommend, but when you are not a scholar, how to go deeper and deeper of that topic means.
Well, I agree with what you said earlier. You said, is it something that would be inspired from the heart? And 100%. I mean, some devotees, they can just read Bhagavad Gita over and over again. Someone like Jayananda, that's great, no problem. But Prabhupada says, he gives us Krishna book, and Prabhupada says we should read the commentary of Sanatana Goswami. In the first verse of the Bhagavatam in the purport, he says that the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta recommends we read different commentaries, and that Prabhupada recommends it. Prabhupada says we should read Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Sanatana Goswami. He says we should read the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. So we're authorized to do that. We have a blessing to do that. It's not wrong. It's not a wrong thing to do that. We should, and you should read the works of your Guru Maharaj. He's given so many beautiful, beautiful books. But in one sense, are they absolutely required? No. All that we need is just Bhagavad Gita and maybe just Srimad Bhagavatam, and that'll give us everything. But if we want to read a little more, and it's important to be able to discuss with devotees. It's important to be able to understand what happened in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 20th, 25th chapters of the 10th canto. What's going on there? Let me study this. Those things are also important. But let's not forget Srila Prabhupada. Let's not forget the bhakti aspect and start thinking, now I'm a big scholar. This problem always comes. Bhaktivinoda says in one place, an interesting thing. He says that he said the instruments for kirtan are mridanga and kartals, just those two things. He says when other instruments are introduced, then the bhakti is lost or the kirtan is lost, something like that. When foreign instruments are introduced. Well, oh my God, what here in Hungary, we have so many, every time there's a kirtan jam or something, devotees bring their guitars and violins and flutes and so many things. Is that wrong? Of course it's not wrong. But then why does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say that? I feel because the tendency is there to start making music and to start focusing on the chords and the guitar and making beautiful music and to forget about the aspect of bhakti. Kirtan is bhakti, it's a crying of the soul. And someone can be wailing and be a terrible singer, a terrible musician, but that's real kirtan. Whereas somebody else, they get all caught up in the musical notes and then it becomes more music than it does bhakti. And so in a similar way, if we get caught up in these shastras, even the bhakti shastras, and we start becoming proud that, oh, I know so much and this, and then we can lose track of the very simple nature of bhakti. Just let me be a humble servant of my Gurudev and chant the holy name. But there's nothing wrong with playing instruments in my mind. There's certainly nothing wrong with reading the shastras and books of our acharyas. We must. But we should do it in the right attitude, not that I want to become a big pundit scholar. Is that helpful, Prabhu? It's a great point.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you at
Thank
right
you.
now? You in Mayapur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I somehow
Nice
thought
place.
I saw the fan, but it looks a little different where you're at now. I saw the fan. I thought you must be in India, but I thought maybe you're back in Hungary or something.
No. In September.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll be here for Radhastami?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll
I've
get to
got
see you.
permission.
All right.
Yeah.
You have to get a
Like
visa.
dogs ask permission.
They have to get a visa to go from India to Hungary.
Not yet.
A devotional
Okay.
visa.
So
All right.
just last point is that my understanding that I at least started to read Chaitanya Charitamrita to read, to study. So that's my first time when I really, and thank you very much for you, because your mercy, others, devotees' mercy, to get some vision in this beautiful book. Thank you very much.
Wonderful book. I don't know anything. The only thing that comes out of my mouth that's any good is because I took some prasadam from Leela Purushottam Prabhu when I was in Czech and it got me fired up.
How you protect yourself not to develop ahankar when you get such a nice prasadam from Leela Purushottam.
You just got to take.
Muhammad.
You just got to keep taking more and more, and then when your stomach starts hurting, then you realize, oh, I have a material body. All right. Thank you, Gwenny Taipu. So there was a few different hands raised. Orsi's got her hand up right now. Krishna Kun had her hand up, and Leela Purushottam had, and Bonnie also made a comment. Let me go ahead and read Bonnie's comment. And then if Krishna Kun still wants to, we'll do things in order. If Krishna Kun still wants to make a comment, she can, then Leela Purushottam, then Orsi. So Bonnie says, Dandavat Pranams class was amazing. Prabhu, thank you. I was happy to hear you say that Siddha-pranali mantra is Chanadapi, but I'm so materially contaminated that I have to say I couldn't understand what was about Kamala. Not one person I know is excited about her or thinks she is cool. Ha ha ha. Okay, well, anyway, that's just an example. She's not a very important example. I notice a lot of people don't like her also, and it's silly. A lot of people like that Trump guy, you know, whatever. I don't want to go there for any of these people. Thank you for pointing that out, Bonnie. I appreciate it. That was just an example that came to my mind. Hey, Krishna Kuma, did you want to share something still, or you're satisfied?
Hi, Krishna. I wanted to share a simple thing from Damodar Maharaj, actually, in connection with the type of asking about yoga, bhakti. And it's really a very simple point, but I find it very profound and for myself very, very important. Maharaj is speaking about, I think most of you might have heard that Damodar Maharaj wrote about Yoga Sutras in terms of bhakti. And he makes the point that the big difference between other yoga processes and bhakti yoga, and specifically chanting Hare Krishna on the order of Shri Guru, is that when you practice a yogic process, that's a mechanical process, and the perfection or lack of it is based on your determination, your enthusiasm. It's you. Whereas bhakti yoga and the very basis of our chanting is the connection, and it's a relationship, a development of the relationship with the holy names. And Guru, Gauranga, Radha, and Krishna, they reciprocate with the chanter. And so we are not on our own when we chant. And this is the biggest difference, because when we feel some reciprocation, they are pulling us. It's not that I can control my mind, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his Gopinath song. All of my various endeavors, there's a translation, please forgive me, I'm not quoting the Bengali. All of my various endeavors have been useless. Now you are the only hope. Krishna can control the mind. Krishna can help me concentrate on my chanting. Krishna can connect me to him when I express my desire to be connected with him. So that's the huge difference. And I just wanted to draw attention to that because I thought it was a super important point, at least for myself.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a great comment. Thank you so much. And Leela Purushottam Prabhu, at one point you had your hand up. Maybe now you're back and with your head in your potatoes and whatever. I don't know. Did you want to share something?
All the time in the kitchen. Well, I was just at one point, at the first point of Gonita Prabhu, came to my mind that what I find really helping for myself to not being, let's say, what I find helpful to develop patience that Rupa Goswami recommends in Upadeshamrita, and not being unhealthily attached to the experiencing result of the bhajan, if I say so, for rather personal enjoyment. Usually that's what I remember I was experiencing, that I misidentified the desire to enjoy the bhajan and the result of the bhajan, you know, like being eager for sakshat darshan and revelations and this, that. But it was totally self-motivated. It was practically what Krishna Mataji now mentioned, like the approach of the yogi, about me. So in that regard, what really I found helpful when I was confronted with that idea that we can't really do bhajan as from the position of karta, like I'm chanting, I'm I'm worshiping, I am doing this and that. And when I allow myself to find myself in a humble position that I can just express my desire to be used for the sake of pleasing the Lord, and not really mixing the fruitive mentality into the endeavors to please Krishna, to worship Krishna. Then one of the immediate results which I can experience is that this patience becomes like something more natural. Like you can more easier put the that experience that you would desire for, you can put it into Krishna's hands, and you can with the detachment say like, okay, Krishna, you can give me whatever you consider proper, whatever you consider helping for my next progress. And then I don't demand it. That now I've chanted so many rounds, so where are you? I want to see you. Something like I have it strongly connected with Atakshri Krishna Nama. So this last phrase, Suvayam Eva Purasira. Indeed, he himself will reveal. So that's my last discovery on the path of my on my inner path. Like externally, I do everything the same. Actually, I don't change anything, but this inner path is changing with this stimulation of not being karta. It's not me who's chanting the holy name. I'm producing the nami, like by moving my lips and tongue. It just came to my mind when.
Yeah, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta spoke so much against the attitude of trying to enjoy prasadam, which is a frightening thing to say, or trying to enjoy kirtan, another frightening thing to say, because we do. But at the same time, what else are they going to do? They should, but at least we need to start developing this mentality, like you're saying, that really kirtan means this is a service for Krishna. Taking prasadam means I'm doing service for Krishna, and I'm relishing, I'm tasting him. Not such an easy thing.
It's not, definitely. I have it connected with few like shastric references that really helped me on the way. Like in Brihad Bhagavatam, there is quite frank statement by Sanatana Goswami that the devotee beginner, he thinks that he's doing bhakti, and he comments like in that particular verse, he comments on it, like, and it's good because that keeps him inspired doing Krishna bhakti. But the advanced devotee understands that it's only the play of Swarup Shakti, it's only a play of Krishna's internal energy, like his interaction, like with his internal energy. So in that sense, it really puts you, as a karta, it really puts you off.
That's why Bhaktivinoda says too, that if we don't understand what is Suddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, and what is Chaya Bhakti, what is Pratibimba Bhakti, what is the shadow of Bhakti or reflection of Bhakti, then we may become discouraged. Like you were saying earlier, I've been practicing so many years, and what's happening? I'm not getting anything. But at least on an intellectual level, and preferably on a level where we see some higher Vaishnavas, at least. We have some examples, and we have a lot of examples in our movement of Jamuna and Jayananda Prabhu and different saintly sadhus. If we have some example and we're also hearing the philosophy, then we can understand, oh, I'm doing some offenses or something, but I'm just going to keep chanting. I'm going to keep going. And sooner or later it's going to come. Okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I'm happy to see you, Prabhuji. We'll see you in another week or so. I guess 2 weeks,
Yeah.
something like that. Hare Krishna. And let's see, I think the next was Orsi. Did you have something still, Orsi?
Hare Krishna. Actually, it's I just tried. I'm confused because right now I'm confused, and what I wanted to comment or reflect on, it's something what is not or still not digested. So maybe I would postpone my question to deepen, and after that I will come back maybe the next week.
Okay, that's good. It's always, digestion's really important, really important. And I'm sorry sometimes. That's why when we go over things, we have, I think it's been 13 or 14 classes on this one verse from Prema-bhakti-candrika, because we really want to try to digest it. Otherwise, we would just go through. It doesn't stick. Digestion is really important. Thank you, Orsi. Gorni Prabhu, you had something else you want to share? We can't hear you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for Krishna Kunmataji. It's a very nice point. That's very important. That I often use it when my chanting goes down. Then I try to remember of that point that not you are chanting, but you are praying for Krishna to appear by moving your lips and try to say nicely this Hare Krishna mantra as far as possible, as far as you can. So thank you very much. That's a very good point. And the reflection for Lila Purusha to promote that, yes, patience is very important, but I feel that's more complex because we need emotions. If I don't have any emotion, I will sleep. That's my best pastime. You are neutral, you chant, 2 minutes later, you practically sleep. Because without emotion, that Hare Krishna for a long time, nothing. So yes, passion and emotion. So my point is how to create not material emotions, but spiritual emotions, which need for at least 2-3 hours to chant, really focusing. And you say that we are not the doers, but why we then say that we are the offender? If we are not doing the positive things, why we responsible for offending? Do you know? Because the same thing, just negative. So why we say that we are responsible for offending the holy name, but we are not responsible to chanting properly? Do you understand my point?
Let me think about that for a second. First of all, how do we awaken spiritual emotions? That's the foundation of our society. That's what this movement's all about. Making friendship with devotees. Siddha-deha pratigrinati goyamaketi prichiti. And we do that by chanting together, by exchanging prasadam, and by loving devotees, by loving Gurudev. Then we're going to awaken spiritual emotions. Now, as your second question, Krishna's in charge of things. We can't chant. But at the same time, we're trying, and we should feel that I'm an offender. that is good for us. At the same time, we're so helpless. It's not that we should identify as being an offender. I think we should identify as being helpless. Oh, Krishna, I can't, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in his song Gopinath, I'm defeated, I can't control my mind, I can't do this and that. I'm an offender, I'm a this and that, but the real thing is I'm taking shelter of you. You're my everything. You're all that I have. I think that should be on wood. And that I think was the point, the essence of what Dula Purushottam Prabhu was making. Very good point.
Yeah, but my question is that I have a history, you know. I started my life not really in goodness. And if I chant in the best mood, it's after 1 hour, it's just I'm not able to continue. So then either I try, because Gurudev told, okay, the best, you sit down and chant until you finish 60 rounds, or I take some rest, because my mind is so much disturbed or distracted by alcohol or other bad actions that is still not able to keep focus long term. So then I'm thinking, if I try to follow my Guru Maharaj order, then practically 99% I make offenses because I cannot. Do you understand my point? That we have history, so avoid offense is not so easy in this state of consciousness.
Yeah, therefore sometimes we can only do things in a kind of mechanical way, but maybe that's the best that we can do. I spoke about this before. There's 6 different levels of chanting, 6 stages of chanting, based on some things my Guru Maharaj has said. I'll just read. Actually, let me I can put these on the board. Vachana Shabdaga Antagata Pratanam Sevayam Vilapanam. Vachana means that we're just articulating. And the holy name is so powerful that sometimes I'm not coming to the point where it's vilapanam, I'm weeping in distress or anything. But all I can do is just Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But articulating, doing that vachana, focusing on pronunciation, it's also powerful because the holy name is Krishna and there's some reciprocation there. Then the next stage is sabdaga, that I'm trying to hear what I'm chanting. And maybe that's a lot harder. So then I just keep going back to Hare Krishna, and I'm focusing on the pronunciation. And then the Shabdaga comes after some time. Then when the Shabdaga comes and I want to go Antagata, Antagata means I'm becoming introspective. And I have some relationship with Krishna, who I am. I'm coming here, I'm a fallen soul. I want a relationship with Krishna. I feel some gratitude, something toward Krishna. It's an honest thing, Antagata. And then from Antagata, I become a little more purified, and I understand that I should appeal, Prarthanam. And there's so many Prarthanas by our acharyas. Narottam Das Thakur has given a whole book called Prarthana. Prarthana means a personal appeal, where we're crying out for something. And then Sevayam, in particular, we're appealing for service. And then Vilapanam. Vilapanam is when we're just crying in distress for Krishna. And that's not necessarily, these are 6 stages of chanting. That's not necessarily, it's not the same as Asasaptikara Bhav, some symptoms of ecstasy. So we can at least do this vachana and give some attention to Krishna in the sense that we're focusing on the pronunciation.
Yeah, but that's not mechanical. Means at least you still have this desire, I want to improve.
Yeah.
And then
especially,
you go back until you have a fixed point.
Yeah, and we're doing that because we have some relationship with Gurudev. But we may be like Valmiki Muni, who's murdered so many people and done so many terrible things, and we can't even chant the name of Ram. And so they tell us to chant Mara Mara. we're trying it because Narad Muni told me I should try this thing. do the best that I can.
Thank you.
Okay.
This list is very, very helpful. As Srila
Okay.
Purushottam told. It's very helpful.
I'll drop that into our WhatsApp chat.
That's like a net below the artist, you know, who goes up and sometimes fall down as a net to keep you not fall down. Very good.
Yeah, the holy name is
Thank you.
wonderful. Hare Krishna. It's so
Yeah,
nice
but
to
this
see you again,
list-
Prabhu. I'm waiting to see you with the cows in New Brajadam, then I'll be really happy. But actually, you're with your Guru Maharaj, and whatever he's telling you, I know you're just following that. It's funny to me, I'm here in Hungary and Shil Shiva Maharaj is here, and I'm feeling separation from Mayapur. You're in Mayapur, you're feeling separation from Hungary. This is the strange nature of bhakti. Hare Krishna Prabhu. And there's a comment from Bani. I was thinking it makes sense that we aren't focused on our identity in Krishna Lila because coming under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are we not supposed to accept his mood of wherever Krishna sends me? Saranagati. How could we accept that if we are focused on who I am in the spiritual world? Yeah, that's a good point. Let me just surrender to Krishna. And then at a certain point, it's just going to naturally rise in the heart. This is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, that it's going to be realized. It's a natural thing. Sabhaviki. Sabhaviki means something natural. It's not just we're fighting it like an American or Russian person. Okay. And Leela Purushottam, I see your comment. I'll paste that thing in our chat. So I want to stop here. I still have some japa to chant. Thank you all for your association. We're going to New Brajadam. We'll be there. We're giving class there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 2 classes a day. But not really for devotees. They asked me to speak on, what were the topics? It was very simple things. How Krishna is in our daily lives, and something about love and Krishna. I have some ideas, just some things to speak about that I think people appreciate. But the real thing in speaking is always who you're speaking to. And the subject matter will come with whatever's natural according to the person. You just have to be friends with them and love them. And friendship and love means you speak what's relevant to them. And you're not going to speak about Ujjwal Nilamani to some brand new people with the Buchu or something. Okay, we have to see. All right. Save a couple potatoes for us, Srila Purushottam Prabhu. We'll be there before long. Okay. Hare Krishna. My pranams to everybody. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samabeda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Go Prema-nandi Hari Hari Bol. Vancha kalpa darubhischa kripa sindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nanda Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.